Welcome. I hope everyone is doing well with their quarantine routine. And welcome to another service as we gather together virtually of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta. Our opening words are from Sarah Moores Campbell. We receive glimpses of the sacred, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you again. I hope you're having a good Sunday morning. I've been thinking about hymns for this week, and I really think Gather the Spirit speaks to some of what we're going through. We're all separated, but hopefully through this service and other methods, we can still feel gathered together in some way. So let's sing Gather the Spirit. We'll sing the first two verses.
The living tradition we Unitarian Universalists share draws from many sources. Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which move us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces that create and uphold life. Words and deeds of prophetic women and men, which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Wisdom from the world's religions, which inspire us in our ethical and spiritual life. Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbor as ourselves. Humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against idolatries of the mind. Grateful for the religious pluralism which enriches and ennobles our faith, we are inspired to deepen our understanding and expand our vision. As free congregations, we enter into this covenant, promising to one another our mutual support and trust.
Spirit of life, come unto me.
I'd like to begin Joys and Sorrows by inviting you, the congregation. This is not an easy experience that we're going through, but we haven't heard much from you, and we'd like to encourage you, if you have any needs or wants, to let us know, the pastoral care team or me, or call Laura and she'll let us know. But we're here to help, and we're still a church, remember. So there you have it. I'd like to begin by dropping a stone for all the joys and sorrows. This from Jerry Goldman. Just want all of you to know that my friend Stuart Stein has recovered from the COVID-19, and he's planning to donate platelets next week. Also, my friend Arlene Fitzmaurice, sorry, Jerry, who caught the virus on the Coral Princess, wow, is home and recovering. Please hold her in your thoughts and prayers. It's a joy and a sorrow from Frank Carl. As many of you know, I was sick for much of the month of March. I began a quest for answers soon after I got sick on March 2nd. I am just now beginning to get answers on April 23rd. That is the joy. The sorrow is that I am fully insured, and I am cognizant of how to work with the healthcare system, and it took me 7 weeks to begin to get answers. I'm concerned about those who are not fully insured nor cognizant of how to work with the healthcare system. Can they get anything close to quality healthcare? From D. Medley. You met Lou Gramling at my house at our Christmas Eve lunch, my grandchildren and other grandmother. Her mother, Louise Fertrell, died Friday morning, and the service will be in Savannah, live streamed during this time of the Trump virus. I will contact the church folks about arrangements. I don't think I'm supposed to read all that, but there you have it. I think it would be nice to include in the concerns on Sunday, Grandma Winsey was just short of her 100th birthday and had been in something close to hospice care since December 2017, just after Lou and my great-grandson was born, and also just after Lou's husband Wally died. I think Lou will recover quickly from this death, but her beloved dog is dying of cancer, and she is as much a dog person as I am. Dibley, and thank you for, okay. Sorry, I think my glasses are failing and the print's getting smaller. For all the joys and sorrows unspoken in this congregation, and for all the joys and sorrows that we face as the state of Georgia, as the country of the United States, and really where we all live, for the world. I drop the last stone in our hearts for all of us. Whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do the good work of this congregation. The offering will now be received online, and the link that you would need if you wish to do so will be on the screen. Thank you. Took me this. Thank you. From the poet Rilke. Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart. Try to love the questions themselves. Do not seek the answers, which cannot be given because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answers. I'd like to begin my sermon with a reading from Paul LaRue, a Unitarian Universalist minister. A religious fundamentalist is a literalist. A fundamentalist is someone who looks at religious writing and says, this is literally true. When a fundamentalist looks at the creation story, for instance, she or he does not say, this is an interesting story, or this is a metaphor or symbolic or poetry or one way of expressing or understanding or conceptualizing or valuing. A fundamentalist is one who says that it literally took God 6 24-hour days to create the world and then one 24-hour day to rest. Unitarians are fundamentalists. Why do I say that? Historically, Unitarians were those people who took the New Testament writings literally and said, but Jesus never said that he was God. At times he referred to himself as the Son of God, but he also called himself the Son of Man. It was only later that people said that Jesus was God. Likewise, the Holy Spirit. The Bible certainly has God's Spirit, the Holy Spirit, coming down to earth in various forms. But the Bible never says that the Holy Spirit is one part of a three-part God. Never in the Bible is God presented as a triune Godhead. So historically, Unitarians were the people who literally and fundamentally rejected the Trinity. Unitarians considered themselves to be the only true Christians. We were the only people who were not led astray by faulty thinking. We were the bedrock fundamentalists who believed in a literal interpretation of the Bible. In the present day, our literalism has led to different conclusions. It has to be literally true or I cannot accept it. I cannot accept it as poetry or story or myth. Since I cannot accept things such as creation in 6 literal days and the virgin birth as being literally true, I will reject the whole body of literature. I will reject the whole body of literature as destructive hogwash. We are fundamentalists. We just happen to be left-wing fundamentalists as opposed to right-wing fundamentalists. Fundamental. Its Latin root means to base firmly, that which is basic and underlying. Your fundament is what you sit on. that on which you are most firmly based. You can think of other words for fundament. To provide our lives with fundamental value and meaning is human nature. The trouble begins when what is fundamental slips into literalism. True literalists approach words as if they are to be believed rather than to be understood. It is a danger to be aware of. It is a trap we Unitarian Universalists tend to fall into when we approach, for example, the Bible. Literalism is a constriction of view that fails to perceive larger truths or understand metaphor and myth. With a quick hop, skip, and a jump, it can lead to arrogance. When I taught a world religions class in a community college, and this was long ago, I encountered an attitude among many students that bothered me. I came to refer to it as the quaint beliefs of those funny little Hindus attitude. Students who came to class with this attitude could not take seriously any belief that differed from their own. So they studied Hinduism, for example, in the same way they might study the artwork of a child, detached, superior, and paternally tolerant. But they did not study it as something that could enrich them as human beings. I sometimes find a similar attitude among us Unitarian Universalists, especially toward Christianity. I hear us making fun of important articles of the Christian faith as if only a fool or a child could take any of it seriously. We have outgrown all that silliness. Such an attitude, I think, says a great deal about the narrow-mindedness of those who adopt it. It would seem to me that when I am faced with a belief that is widely respected, intelligent, and reasonable people find inspiring, and yet appears to me silly, the proper attitude is not smug dismissal, but humble admission that I must have missed something somewhere. I am not a Christian, but I maintain that Christianity is not silly, nor is it the faith of a fool or a child. It is a simple fact that both the Unitarians and the Universalists were once sects of Christianity. It's our origin. It's our birthplace. When we begin to feel smug and paternal, we would do well to remember what some of our great minds have said about it. And I'm going to give you 19th century Unitarian minister Theodore Parker declared he could conceive of no more moral and religious incarnation of God than Jesus of Nazareth. Again, Theodore Parker was a Unitarian. Then we should ask ourselves humbly what we have failed to understand. Christians are not automatically fools. The true fools, I would say, are those who denigrate the faith of others. Or put another way, those who box truth in rather than unfolding it. To box truth in rather than unfolding it. Faith is an unfolding. This is an insight from faith development theory. Indeed, the whole field of development theory reveals that while our bodies must stop growing as we reach adulthood, our inner selves do not, or do not have to, although they often do. Cognitive development, as structured by Jean Piaget and Erik Erikson, moral development, is researched by Lawrence Kohlberg, Carol Gilligan, and Norma Hahn, and faith development is pioneered by James Fowler. All recognize sequential stages that we grow into as we engage the changes and challenges of our lives. This evolution claims most of a lifetime. Each new stage expands a person's capacities while encompassing all that one has achieved before. It is like, and I quote, a mind which, once stretched to a new idea, never goes back to its original dimensions. The Unitarian Oliver Wendell Holmes said that. Now, James Fowler researched faith development by asking people such questions as, does life have meaning? What gives your life meaning? When you're the most discouraged, what gets you up in the morning to return to the struggle? Faith, Fowler found, is not necessarily religious, nor equated with belief. Rather, faith is your way of leaning into life and making sense of it. Your life is progressively centered around some basic set of meanings and values. Thus, faith is a universal among human beings. Fowler observed 6 stages that emerge in working out the meanings of our lives. From the intuitive faith of the very young to the literal faith of childhood, through conventional faith, where those in mainline religions tend to cluster, and then a more independent faith, where the majority of Unitarian Universalists are, to an integrating faith, seldom reached before midlife, if at all, and ultimately, the rare universalizing faith of maturity. Like the monks. The monks have a high tolerance for the unknown. It's a wise thing. But the maturity of a universalizing faith, in other words, including everything. Faith is not a box. Faith is an unfolding with a wide sky in which to grow. As we take faith evermore unto the horizons of that wide sky, we leave behind simplistic answers. When we stop boxing ourselves in, we slow down our doing that to other people. The constriction of faith, the boxing in, indicates an urge for security, for boundaries and certainty in this great age of doubt. And I think we all can relate to that. There are no certain assumptions, it seems clear. It abandons us to encounter the dark times of our lives and the deep darkness of all we do not know, with no sure map or guide. That is the fear. I want to challenge it. As with the terrible what-ifs of our childhood, which the mere presence of courage belied, experience has proven us survivors. You and I have already weathered dark nights of the soul. We have weathered the upheavals of faith that brought us here in the first place. We are proven survivors. I think of Philip Booth's brief sketch, First Lesson. Lie back, daughter. Let your head be tipped back in the cup of my hand. Gently, and I will hold you. Spread your arms wide. Lay out on the stream and look high at the gulls. A dead man's float is face down. You will dive and swim soon enough where this tidewater ebbs to the sea. Daughter, believe me, when you tire on this long thrash to your island, lie up and survive. As you float now, where I held you and let go, remember when fear cramps your heart what I told you. Lie gently and wide to the light year stars. Lie back and the sea will hold you. Lie back and the sea will hold you. In meeting crisis of faith and life, that is sage advice and guidance. For like the sea, life flows. May we flow with it, with an open mind and a generous spirit. May it ever be so.
We are going to close with hymn 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. First two verses.
Our closing words are from Buddha. Be you lamps unto yourselves, be your own confidence. Hold to the truth within yourselves as to the only lamp.